Hello, everyone. My name is Cyrus Waters. Welcome to the first episode of Let's Talk About Something. I'm your host, Cyrus Waters, and today we have a couple. All right, we're going to start it off good with a couple, newlyweds. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Jonathan and Veonna Quintanilla. Welcome. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing fine, man. It's a blessing to have you guys here. Has it been a month yet since you guys been married, or not even a month yet?
Not yet. A couple more days. On 22nd.
Yeah,
Awesome.
It's like 4 weeks, like almost 4 weeks.
Yeah, so they got to experience the unique circumstance of having a quarantine or COVID-19-esque type of marriage. I got to be part of the little drive-by or drive-through reception, I guess you call it, where I got my little goodie bag and I got to take a picture with them. But it was good to see. I got to witness the ceremony online, so that was great. It was a beautiful wedding regardless. So let's start off, how did you guys, I knew you guys since I've been going to Fairview like 5 years ago and things like that, but how did you guys, get together, started dating and things like that?
Well, the short version is basically I was already serving in the music ministry at Fairview, and Jonathan moved from El Salvador a few months prior. He joined the Spanish ministry, and then he actually ended up coming over to the English side because he wanted to improve on his English, although I think he was already pretty fluent. But he actually started serving in the music ministry along with us, playing the bass and the piano. Mm-hmm. And I was singing with the praise team at the time. And so we just actually ended up developing a friendship just through serving the Lord and being able to hang around other believers. And then, we developed a genuine friendship, a brotherhood and sisterhood through conversations. And, he would actually call me or talk to me pretty frequently, which initially was a little unusual for me. I thought it was unique. I was like, no one calls me this often. I don't understand. But that's just his personality, just very sociable. He just loves reaching out to folks and genuinely knowing how they're doing. So we just developed a friendship through spending time and talking and being able to serve in the church together and talk about the word, talk about basically anything in life, and be able to be genuinely, transparent and just friends,
Right.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So, and just to add more onto that, and I said I was gonna throw this in. So one of the reason how we got together more was, I have a personality that I like to reach out to folks, and coming to the United States, I wanted to develop more friendships, and I wanted to have somebody that I can talk to more often here in the United States. So when I joined the music ministry, it was a coincidence that she gave me her number, but it was for the purpose of her, following up with me with giving me the songs for the praise team. But now that I look back to it, I was like, wow, like she really made my job easy, because she actually gave me her number rather than me having to go with the struggle of how to ask for a number. But it was something that I'd reach out to her a lot, almost on a daily basis. We used to talk like after work. And like she mentioned, we just used to, talk about the word, talk about the several things that happened to us throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And that friendship, prolonged to about almost 2 years.
Yeah, over 2 years. Yes. A little over 2 years we were friends.
Yeah, so it was like 2 years of us, just hanging out and just spending time with other believers as well at Fairview. And, we developed a really great bond, and we really enjoyed being around each other. Mm-hmm. And that's how we started to develop feelings, because we just loved being around each other. There was a couple of things that we had in common, that we enjoy music, we enjoy talking about the word, we enjoy traveling. And so that's one of the things that we're like, I think I would really want to spend the rest of my life with her. That's what I would say. But it's something that I had to go to the Lord, before the Lord, in prayer and say, because there was a couple of differences. There was a couple of things that I was analyzing, and, to make such a commitment for life. So that's when I had to reevaluate the situation, know if I was prepared for it as well, in every single area of my life. And, and it may be silly, but when I expressed my emotions to her, I actually made a list of a SWOT, I guess you call it in English, just strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the relationship. So I had to evaluate those
He's super
factors.
analytical, so
I had to like evaluate those factors to see if if it was something that was beneficial for the both of us.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and when I was evaluating the friendship, it made it super clear that something that I really wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
So it's ever since then, that's really how we got together. Just just poured out my heart.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good how you, and I feel like that's a good sign of leadership, Jonathan, how you have you use your analytical thought process to really consider, like, man, is this something that God will approve of? Is this something that I'm ready for? Are we compatible and things like that? I think that's very healthy. And I also like how you guys start off doing ministry together, and that's kind of like what started everything. That's similar to how me and my wife got together. Like, we knew each other even years before we even got together. But when I started doing the Awana ministry, she was doing the Awana ministry. We both were passionate about children and just evangelizing the children. So we had that same passion in ministry as well. And then from there, we got to the next steps. So that's always, I think it's always helpful for single people to serve. If you desire marriage, like, man, serve, but then look around. What I'm saying, look around you and see who's available, because if you guys are like gifted the same way or have the same passions in regards to ministry, that's a good start right there. So that is awesome. Now, I know you shared the similarities that you guys have. And Jonathan, I think you mentioned the differences that you're probably, I guess, maybe concerned about. What were some of those differences that you're concerned about?
So the differences that I was concerned about was our goals.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's also little entangled in a way with the age difference as well. Mm-hmm. So I was aware that even though I was pursuing education, I had certain goals and a timeline that I had. And I knew that marrying Veonna would have to adjust those timelines, or even have to adjust what I wanted to do. And it was a very interesting perspective that I had at that time, because it was like, it's not like I was really giving up a lot of stuff, but it was more like I was modifying the time that I wanted the stuff to occur. Yeah. And I think the beautiful part of the beautiful part of marriage itself is that I have somebody who will be supporting that, and that will be there to, like, I don't know, like a number one cheerleader in a sense. Right. So it's something that I was really excited for. But at the same time, even though I had those goals, I know that she had different goals. Because of the age difference, she would probably expecting certain stuff to occur. Right. And even though I didn't have a complete comprehension of what those type of things are, because I don't know what's going through her mind at that point. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that were limiting myself. And I was like, well, I know that if I'm going to be involved in this commitment, I would have to be what's the word? I need to be flexible in a sense, or I had to, compromise. I had to compromise with a couple of things and be like, okay, even though I really want this, now she's coming into the picture. Now we have to see what's beneficial for the both of us. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the things that were goals oriented, maturity oriented as well. Mm-hmm. The difference of age between a person my age, like a woman who can be of my age, can have like a maturity that's beyond of what I could have. Yeah. And not to mention that if it's somebody who's older than me, and beyond in our conversations, I've seen her maturity that can go beyond what I could have. Right. And it can be very intimidating at times, because it was like, I have to step up my game. Right. In every single level, when it comes socially, spiritually, when it comes to even the leadership area as well. It's something that I had to step up my game. But it was something that through prayer, and I'm continuously praying for that. That is something that, to prepare me for that. But it's a very exciting thing to do,
Yeah. Veonna, what were your thoughts regarding, they're just young man, hot Latin brother that's interested in you. You know he's young, and like some of the things Jonathan mentioned, I'm pretty sure you're thinking about maturity level, maybe, where he's at with his life now. What was your thought process in the initial stages? And maybe share, like, what's your thought process now? I mean, maybe you don't even think about it now anymore, but I don't know. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, to take a step back, if you had talked to me maybe a year before we got together, 2 years before we got together, I would be like, I'm not going to consider someone younger than me. I just don't even want to open that door because you just, at times it seems like men my age aren't at the maturity level they need to be anyway. Why would I look for someone younger or be open to someone younger? So that was old Veonna, and the Lord had to change some perspectives of mine over time. And really, I honestly I did not think about having like a dating relationship with him until literally, like I wasn't interested in him in that way until maybe a month before he actually asked me out. So it kind of took our entire friendship for the Lord to kind of just show me, okay, like there's different things about him maturity wise that is different. Like, for example, his priorities as a young man are very different than young men his age, and even men my age. Like, his priorities were around the Lord, and he loves family, and he wants to provide, and he wants to have a home and a family. Like, that's what he desires, even at a young age. A lot of men his age are not thinking about that. They want to explore the world and try different things. And he also loves doing that too. Like, he loves exploring, he loves having adventures, he loves having fun, he loves people, but that his priority is still like the Lord and family and things that were also important to me. So he doesn't completely neglect those other things. They're just not the top priority for him. So me seeing what his priorities were was something that I think attracted me to him. And then also just thinking about like his character, regardless of his age, I think his character is what stood out to me. Like, he's a young man who's super caring, he's very generous, he's secure in his masculinity, but he's also sensitive as well. So I can be transparent with him and know that even if he doesn't fully understand what I'm feeling, he's going to try his best to try to understand. He's going to want to do his best to try to help me or support me, however, whether it's praying for me or taking me to the word or encouraging me or saying, hey, you need to talk to so-and-so. Like, he's going to do his best to try to help me to grow or help me to do better in that situation. So, seeing, despite the age difference, seeing kind of like, okay, his maturity, his character, how he is as a young man, how he is as a friend towards me, like our friendship, and being in the Lord first and foremost, but also our friendship is like a big foundation of this relationship. And that was important to me, building that trust. He's a man who built trust with me. And I've had, challenges with trust in general and trusting men as well. So the Lord kind of used him to break those barriers. So really, at that point where we started even coming together, those issues that I had were no longer issues in that moment, if that makes sense. Because I think our friendship and seeing those things about him kind of broke those barriers for me. But of course it was something, I had to consider. I'm like, okay, I know I'm emotionally attracted to him and wanting to be with him, but is it just emotion, or is this genuinely what the Lord would want? You still have to have that perspective. Like, I see all these good things, but Lord, is this what you want too? And so, I also tried to have that perspective and definitely prayed about how to treat him in that initial stage of us, coming together. So.
Yeah, that's good. Veonna, I like how you emphasize character, looking at the character and spiritual qualities of Jonathan rather than his age. It's uncommon for a woman to date and marry someone younger than them. Veonna, I know before you struggle with that, like that was just like something that you're not interested in, young guys and things like that, because most young guys, it's true that generally speaking, men mature slower than women for some reason, so, but Veonna, I hear that quite often, even in the church, where it doesn't matter how godly the young man is, and I've seen it, where young men are trying to pursue older women, but the older woman just is not having it because of their age. Why do you think that's such a huge stumbling block for women? It's not really with men, but I see it more with women, where they don't want to marry someone younger than them.
Well, I mean, obviously every woman is different, but I think we all have this natural desire to know that we're going to be truly, genuinely cared for and provided for. And, you know, if you're a younger man, you're still trying to figure out your life. You're trying to figure out, you know, what career path or, you know, what do you want to do? There's a lot of things that may not be established yet as a young man. And so for a woman who may be further along in a different life stage, who wants to settle down, have a family, or who maybe she has businesses that she has in mind or whatever, or maybe her ministry is at a certain place and she wants to continue to grow in her ministry, she may not see how it would work between where she is and where he is. And on different levels, so spiritually, emotionally, physically, you know, life stage, there's all these different things.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of factors. I think it really also does come down to, you know, I think you have to look at, is this man who's pursuing me who God wants him to be, even where he is in his life, right? And then you have to look at, okay, Lord, I need you to really genuinely work on my heart so that I'm not saying no to somebody who might actually be a good fit for me. You know, I think a lot of times we also get caught up in where we're supposed to be in our lives. Like, oh, I'm in my 30s. I'm supposed to be here already. I'm supposed to be married. I'm supposed to have this career. I'm supposed to own my home, or I'm supposed to blah, 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 fill in the blank. And if you don't feel like you're there already, you might be thinking, well, how is this young man gonna help me get there? Like, I'm supposed to be here. Like, I shouldn't have to go all the way back and start all over. If he's still in school, I don't want to go back to school with him. I've done that already, you know? Like, you can have these barriers that you put up that really, you know, may not be as important as we make them. The Lord's priorities are obviously our spiritual well-being, knowing Christ, being in the Lord, serving him faithfully, serving our brothers and sisters in Christ, and everything else comes after that. And so sometimes we put these things on too high of a pedestal. Like, I'm supposed to be here in my life. I'm supposed to be here. It may not be as important. I think for me, we kind of are starting over a little bit in a sense of like, okay, he's finishing school. I've already done the school thing. You know, I've had a couple of careers or whatever. But once again, our perspective is we're building this together. Like, what we do, we're building together. I'm supporting him and he's supporting me. He also supports me in what I'm trying to do as well. So I'm looking at that as the highest priority. We're building together, and maybe older women don't see it as us building together. They see it as, now I have to start all over, or now you're not able to provide for me, so I have to provide, and that's not what I want to do, you know?
Yeah, man, those are all good points, man. And I like how you just said, like, you know, it's not starting all over. It's just a new beginning. You know what I'm saying? It's a new partnership, and it's a new blessing to where now I have to, like, you know, adapt to it, you know, and then just be a good steward of what God gave me, you know. Jonathan, you're a college student. Most people would say, at least in the world, they would expect a college student to not get married yet. The thing is with the world to say, like, well, get your education first, you know, get your career first, you know, establish yourself, travel around the world first before you get married. Did any of those societal pressures hinder you from maybe trying to get married, or did it bother you? Did you get any of those type of talks when you're trying to get married with Veonna?
I had several of those talks actually. It was very resonant within my own family as well. It was something that they wanted me to complete my education, because that's what I came here to the United States for. I came here with ambition that I wanted to pursue my degree in engineering, and then, you know, after that I was able to pursue anything else I wanted. And that's one of the things that, at least with my own parents, they like to. It was something that I would hear very frequent. But I think it's something that, you know, because I was very determined of what I wanted, it didn't bother me. It was something that I just knew with anticipation when I mentioned to my own college classmates, you know, I was gonna tell, oh yeah, like, I'm getting married in a month. I'm getting married in like, 8 months. They'd be like, oh, you getting married? You engaged? And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I was like, yeah. You know, that would surprise many of my own classmates at community college. And not to mention now that we transitioned here to UCSD, and there's a lot of undergrads that I'm letting them know that I'm that I'm married already. But I think it's a very unique experience for college students.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something that shouldn't be looked down upon. Even Scripture calls us to put marriage on a pedestal. So it's something that I'm in no fashion at all ashamed of saying that I'm married and in college. But it's something that, on the contrary, inspires me to want to continue pursuing education. It's something that motivates me because, as Veonna mentioned, I love the idea of being able to provide for my family. I've seen that in my own family, where my father looked after us and my mother as well. So it's something that I would like to be able to take care of Veonna, and if the Lord allows in the future to have a family, I would love to be able to be in a position that I could be able to take care of my own as well. And it's something that I know that I have to start here at college. So that was one of the things that I was considering before asking Veonna out in the first place. And especially because that was before I transferred here to UCSD. It's something that I wrote down. I remember writing it down on the list because I was like, me getting married, it's something that it's going to be, it's funny because I was actually pursuing, I told her, let's just wait another 11 years.
He was trying to pursue, he thought it was PhD. He was like, well, if I do this in 10 years, I said 10 years. Do you know how old I'm going to be in 10 years?
Yeah, so
you want kids after that? Wait, hold on. Wait a minute now. I'm not trying to be like Sarah. Lord, God is good.
Yeah, so there were some biological issues that I had to look upon as well. And also I had to see things through her lenses as well. So, but I mean, I don't want to go on too much tangents, but on, being married in college was something that I knew would be challenging. I knew that I'm going to be inundated in a lot of things in college, and engineering is not an easy degree.
Yeah.
Classes can be very intense and very engaging in a sense that I have to, but it's something that I know that I'm still to look over my own family in a sense.
Yeah.
Sorry that I'm stumbling on my words. My English is.
Oh, no worries.
It's still working. It's still working on it.
You're communicating clearly. No worries, Jonathan. Jonathan, what's your guys' age, by the way? Is that okay to ask? Like, what's the age gap?
So I'm 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 30. So
yeah. So I'll be 23 in November.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually not bad at all. So, I've known couples who have a bigger age gap, but yeah, that's not too bad at all. So yeah, that's amazing. So I know let's move away from the age thing, because there's something else that's really unique about you guys, and it's the interracial, what they call interracial marriage. Now I know for a lot of couples now, my parents are different ethnicities. My mother is Mexican and Puerto Rican. My father is Black. And of course, at least with a lot of interracial couples, there tends to be tension between families because of cultural differences, or sometimes one family doesn't approve of marrying outside their ethnicity and things like that. Were there any conflicts or clashes or worries even from your guys' family, or even within yourselves, about your guys' relationship?
So in my family, it was a surprise. It was something that I remember letting my family know, I'm dating. And they're like, oh, that's nice. It's from the United States. And I'm like, yeah, she's African American. And they're like, oh, wow. That, on my mother's side, they were all, well, on both sides, actually, they were like, wow, this is a surprise. Like, somebody that's not Salvadoran, somebody that's not Hispanic is going to, they're dating. And, at the dating phase, there's still a possibility, especially at my age, they wouldn't have imagined that I would have gone into the commitment of marriage.
Yeah.
But once I proceeded and said I'm getting married, that's where, like, okay, so that means that after this boy, every other kid, if they do have kids, they're gonna look different. They're no longer gonna be purely Salvadoran, if that even like is a thing. But they're not gonna be like, they're not gonna look like us in a sense too much. So that was something that somewhat like my parents were a little, I wouldn't say fully skeptical about, but they would say, hey, like, wouldn't you consider somebody who's Hispanic? And then I was like, no, because I found what I wanted in this woman. I found like the characteristics and her personality is something that I really want. But I know that we don't look the same in any way. Well, we're all created to the image of God, and that's the beautiful part. And at the same time, I embrace her features as well. It's something that I tell her, oh wow, like your hair, she says that it's some really tight curls, and they are like very difficult to deal with. And I think that's an interesting thing, because I've been very accustomed to see how at least people within my family, they're very quick, relatively quick to get ready. And then when we started dating, I was like, oh, you almost done? He's like,
I'm like, I got this hair to do with. It doesn't cooperate on time.
But that's something that, as I'm discovering, I still find it beautiful, and it's something that ties me in a sense. As I'm discovering her culture, I'm seeing things that I like, and as well, she's learning from my culture as well. So it's a really beautiful experience to be able to be interracial. Perspective, like the things that I perhaps would have expected, or like if there's anything that I would have expected in a woman because of my culture, it wasn't really challenging for me, because I didn't really have like culture-wise, it wasn't really like something that brought to my attention to have some certain cultural characteristics in her. I don't know if that makes sense in a sense, but what I'm trying to say is that culture-wise, it wasn't really a challenge to be with her in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
for me, I'd say I love Hispanic cultures, and I love learning about where people are from, their foods, their language, their families. Like when I travel somewhere, I want to know like how do people actually live here. Like I don't want to just do the touristy stuff. Like I want to see how people live where they are, and so yeah, I was actually excited. Like there's things about Salvadoran culture that I love and I'm excited about. I did get an opportunity to go visit a couple of years ago, and I was a little nervous initially, like nervous about how would they accept me, and I do have some understanding of Spanish, but my Spanish is not completely fluent, and also there's different dialects, and Salvadorian Spanish is a little different than the Spanish that I learned in school. So so I was a little nervous about that. I was a little nervous about probably being the only African American in the country, possibly. But when I did arrive there, I can say everyone was very hospitable towards me. Everyone was very welcoming. Everyone wanted to show me. They wanted to show me their country, where they were from, their homes. They wanted to show me how to cook, and so I had experiences with his aunts and his grandmother. Seeing how they cook and learning, even with his mom. So yeah, I was super excited. I didn't exactly know what to expect, but I loved it. I loved it there, and they wanted me to know and learn their culture. And I'm still learning and still open, and we're still practicing on my Spanish, trying to get me a little bit better, so where I can kind of hold conversations here and there, but trying to get to where I can hold down on my own. And as far as my family and stuff, they never had any concerns about the cultural differences. Like that's not something that we ever discussed. I mean, we're used to having a diverse group of friends around us at some point. So the cultural issues or challenges never really came up. If anything, learning about how they love family, and like they really spend time, like quality time with each other. Like every other Sunday, like their one grandparent's house on Saturday, one grandparent's house on the Sunday, and like they all come together, and that's normal. You know, that they do that every week. And I'm like, man, we do it over here. Like, we can learn from y'all. Like, we need to be together.
Mhm.
So anyway.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, man, when I see interracial Christian couples, it's such a beautiful picture of the gospel. And you guys are double. You guys are intergenerational couple too. So that's just, man, your marriage speaks loudly regarding like what the gospel can do and how it could bring like people who are so different together. You know, I want to talk about this this COVID-19 situation. Jonathan, I remember you came to me and you were like a little stressing and worried about, you know, how the marriage ceremony, the wedding is going to be. Veonna, I know I know you guys were excited too, but I mean, I know the feeling. It's both stressful and it's exciting. You're like, man, you can't wait to that day, but man, it's stressful and hard to get there. But then, you know, COVID-19 hit. You know, the pandemic started, and that halted everything. And I was looking forward to being there at the wedding. You know, physically, I'm sure a lot of your friends were. I know you guys had like the intimate, close family there and stuff like that. But you know, what was your guys' reaction when you guys found out, like, oh man, like there's a possibility that there is no wedding, and then later on, you guys found out, oh, there's not going to be like an actual like wedding. It's going to be a quarantine COVID-19 wedding. You know, how did you guys take that?
Well, I'll let you.
So
pour out your heart right now.
I mean, if I can be completely honest, I was heartbroken at first. Like, to be completely honest, I mean, I don't think I realized how important it was to me to have an in-person wedding with everybody. Like, because I mean, I knew I wanted to be married, and that was important to me. But I think once the possibility of not being able to have, you know, family and friends who have supported us either individually or as a couple, not having everyone there to celebrate with us, that really was heartbreaking for me. I really struggled for a while, and I had to pray and just, like, I was constantly before the Lord, like, Lord, help my heart, help me to be okay, because, you know, this is not what I envisioned. Like, this is a once in a lifetime situation, Lord. Like, I'm not going to get these memories or this time back. Like, you know, how do I handle this? Like, emotionally, I had to struggle. It was a couple months, and I had, you know, thankfully I had other believers and people encouraging me to really focus on what's important, you know, us coming together, like Jonathan and I, you know, pursuing marriage before the Lord, coming together as one. Like, that is the most important thing. You know, the ceremony, you know, I had to have this perspective, and they, you know, were encouraging me to have this perspective. The ceremony, you know, and the celebrations that are around it are really more for the guests, you know. You know, the union in your marriage, that's the most important part. So try to keep that as the center, and you may not be able to do everything, but let's do something. So, you know, it was a challenge emotionally, and then trying to plan and trying to figure out, you know, can we use a venue, and, you know, what venues will let you, if you have to cancel, are they going to give you your deposit back? Do you have a deposit? Just that whole situation, you know. And then some venues were shutting down completely. And then, of course, you're thinking about, well, can I have bridesmaids? Can we have, you know, a bridal party? How do we get them dresses and suits? And, you know, unfortunately, you know, with everything shutting down, his family, most of his immediate family was not able to fly out. Thankfully, his dad was able to join us by God's grace. But, you know, his family back in El Salvador, you know, nobody was able to come. His best man would not have been able to come. And so, you know, that's one of the reasons we decided not to have a bridal party. We were just like, you know, just be me, you, and the officiant and our immediate family. But, you know, it took a while to get there. It took several months. And, you know, and thankfully, like, honestly, everything that came together, it was like maybe 3 weeks. Like, everything kind of came together in 3 weeks. Yeah. It was very stressful. Plus, I moved twice. That was a whole nother situation. I moved twice in that and trying to plan a wedding. I don't recommend it, but God gave grace. And it came together. But yeah, it was a challenge, to be quite honest. And it took me a while to be okay with it not being how I envisioned. Because believe me, at 30 years old, you have a vision. I had it all visioned how I was going to have it. You know, I had to let it go. I had to let go of that and really just, you know, be content with what the Lord provided. And, you know, he's provided things that we could never have imagined, and people supported us and gave and helped out in so many different ways that we're super grateful for. We never would have imagined. So, you know.
Wow. What about you, Jonathan? How did you feel when all this happened?
it was very interesting to be planning. I think it was because we had talked about it last year, no, a year prior, or actually like a couple of weeks after the engagement. We were already starting to think, oh yeah, like we're gonna have this ceremony. We would like to have one here, one in El Salvador, so we can be able to, share with them.
Yeah.
But then once the news started kicking in about the coronavirus occurring, that's when I was a little skeptical, and we were discussing about what are the alternatives when it comes to planning, and we started seeing that as we were planning certain stuff, things were closing down, and it was like, okay, so if we want to do this, let's start looking into it, and then they're like, nope, it's not going to happen because we're gonna, we have to comply with the regulations imposed by the government. And so as time was going by, I think more things were closing down. So I think it was wiser for us to just hold on to the planning until the date would come a little closer, so that we wouldn't have to put a deposit somewhere and then not be able to make use of what we're paying for. And so, as the day was coming closer, which was like about the 3 months, that's when we're like a little stressed out because we didn't know how it was going to envision. We don't know how many people are going to be at the wedding. Right. I remember making the guest list up to like 7 times because we're like, okay, cool. We have this amount, and then they're like, okay, we can't have this amount. Yeah. So I remember even during premarital counseling, we had to start giving certain numbers because like, oh, how many people are going to be in the ceremony? I think it's going to be like 8. And then they're like, and then the next time we're like, I think we might do 10. So, yeah. So because of all these regulation changes, we weren't really able to do a lot of things like how we would have planned. But one thing that we did want to keep in mind was the purpose of why we're getting married, knowing that, it's a union of 2 people, and then we're both becoming one before the Lord. And I think that's one of the things that even in the time of struggle when she was having mostly the mental breakdown,
emotional, not even emotional.
I'm sorry, the emotional breakdowns. Then it was something that we had to be praying for because it was something that was very hurting. To not be able to share with everybody. But it's something that we wanted to do it, and we wanted to, even in spite of these sort of obstacles, we still wanted to experience marriage. One thing I can say is that the time isn't certain, and the Lord has a plan for each one of us. And if it's something that the Lord has put in your heart to be able to do so, and you evaluate it and you made the wise decision to do so, that's something you should look after. And now looking back at it, and as we were talking about it, it's like, it's a very unique thing to say that we got married during the pandemic. So it's like something that, if the Lord allows, I could tell my grandchildren, and be like, we got married during the pandemic. And, a lot of people were joining, but they were joining through the computer. Yeah. And we had some certain fellas, we had the drive-through reception that it was essentially nobody got out their cars. We didn't have, because we couldn't entertain too many people because the line would get too long. So we were just seeing the people drive by, and and it was a very unique experience. It was very interesting to see how everything unfolded, but by God's grace, here we are.
Yeah. I think years later, it's going to be an amazing story to tell. I kind of felt that way too when my daughter was born, my first child. I was like, man, during a pandemic, and in my mind, I'm thinking like when I have my first child, all my family's going to be there and things like that. But it's not like that. It was just me there, and even with my graduation, it's not how I envisioned it. I wanted another, reception and stuff like that. But I could say like, hey man, I graduated. I'm a COVID-19 graduate, during quarantine, and you guys could do the same thing with the wedding. But, although we weren't, your family and friends weren't there physically. You know, at least we get to witness what God will be doing in your guys' lives for, you know, the rest of your guys' life in this marriage, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys are growing in Christ. I'm looking forward to seeing what ministry you guys are going to be part of, you know, because we're going to miss your guys' ministry, man, your guys' service to Fairview Heights with the music ministry, man. We're really going to miss that. But yeah, Jonathan, let me ask you this. So this has nothing to do with marriage. I guess it kind of does. I guess you guys are one flesh now, so it does have something to do with you, Veonna. But Jonathan, how many degrees do you have right now, man?
I have 7 associate's degrees that from El Camino College.
Man, can you what are they? What's all the?
Can I list them? Oh, I don't remember because they were like, oh, you got. It turns out that you completed these classes, so oh, you just got another degree.
Well, it's chemistry, you know, chemistry.
Yeah, I got chemistry. I got physics, math. I got a pre-engineering, whatever that means. But I got in general studies, general biological studies, and what was that? I don't know if I said math already, but it was something.
Basically, all the math and sciences, anything you do math, science, and pre-engineering.
The only thing that I was missing was the biology, but I'm not really a biology major, so I didn't really need biology. But yeah, so that's how they just started sharing all of those.
And you want to pursue your master's degree, right? You're just going that far for now.
Yeah. So right now I'm completing the bachelor's, but I'm trying to, you know, if the Lord allows, I would like to be able to enroll in the MSBS program at UC San Diego, where I can be able to complete my bachelor's, and then 3 additional quarters I'll be able to complete my master's in structural engineering.
Wow, like all those degrees, you're not gonna have a problem finding a job, man.
Well, hopefully not.
Yeah. Well, Veonna and Jonathan, man, thank you so much for coming on the Let's Talk About Something show. It was a pleasure to have you guys here. And man, I'm looking forward to talking to you guys soon, maybe having a Zoom date or something like that. Or maybe come out to San Diego and give you guys a visit.
Yeah, we can come here some pupusas. I found a really great spot out here in San Diego.
Yeah, you did. That was one of the first restaurants you found, the pupusa place.
Yep.
Good.
So thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you. And for those of you guys watching, thanks for joining us. God bless.